Hello, welcome to my first episode, which is called Green Without Envy, for reasons that I am about to speak about. I'm speaking about the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, which is the only maximum security prison in the state of New York that holds women. And clearly they're forced to wear green every day, which is why my episode is called Green Without Envy. Now, the normal protocol for the correctional facility is basically as one would imagine the average prison to be. They have what they call general population, which is where the vast majority of the incarcerated individuals go after going through what they call RCOD, which is the reception area. Now, after you go through reception, you can either go to what they call the back buildings, which is a dormitory setting, or in the alternative, you can go to, they have 3 different what they call upper buildings, and those are cell buildings. So, and it's just, you don't have a bunkie. As far as the determination, sometimes as far as where they put you, your location, sometimes it's high profile. Sometimes it's if someone has gotten a ticket in the past. At times it's just wherever they have room. So that is an issue because some people, it's a two-way street, really. Some people love being in the back buildings because they don't want to be locked in all day. And in the alternative, really most of the buildings, they're not locked in all day. They have what they call inside rec. And from my understanding, the men's facility, they do not have this privilege. However, they didn't have that privilege due to certain issues. For example, the men's facilities, they have showers outside, which I know it sounds odd, but they have showers outside, and they have showers outside in their yard, their recreation yard. So New York State is required to only give you 3 showers per week. But being that there are women who are housed on those facilities, they were able to, in the past, take as many showers as they want, as long as you wait in line and whatnot, and you're able to have enough time to get a shower, then they were capable, clearly, of always taking as many showers as they want. And then the way that it goes in Bedford is they have what they call modules. So modules are split up into like hours per day. So one module is 8 to 11. That's the morning module. Now, throughout any module, you go to either programs. Programs can be anything from where you work, or in the alternative, you could be called out of work to go to a medical appointment, a mental health appointment, things of that nature. Then they come back for 11 o'clock. Their count is at 11:30. They have the medication run at 12 o'clock. And then at around 12:30ish, they have lunch. Then at 1 o'clock again, that's the next module. So the next module is 1 to 4. 1 to 4 is their next program. Some of them work in the same position, so they just return to work, or some of them have a part-time job here, part-time here, or some of them are in programs that they're required to take due to their crime. It could be anything from substance abuse to anger management, parenting classes, things of that nature. Now, the next module, so they come back from that module at 4 o'clock. The next module, yes, which, by the way, then they eat dinner, 4:30. They go in for count at 5:30, and they call non-program meds at 6 o'clock. So if anyone is taking mental health medication, which I would say probably 90% of the facility is. They go to medication at 6. This is the way it's supposed to be run. I'm not saying it's always run like this. And then by 6:30, they call movement. By the way, all of these modules, the word movement means go ahead, you could go now. So if it's an 8 o'clock movement that you're waiting for, you could be waiting up to like 8:45, 9 o'clock, depending on what's going on in the facility or if there's officers available and whatnot. So to keep a long story short, the 6:30 movement is pretty much, for the most part, depending on what jobs you have, usually people during the evening have an open module, except for like mess hall workers, law library workers. They have an open module. So those people have the choice to sign up for a lot of different programs. For example, they have RTA, rehabilitation through the arts. They have college courses that you could take. You could get a college degree for $5. They have parenting classes. They have, and by the way, RTA has drama, has music. So they really, and that's their only chance. The people that work all day, that's their only chance that they get to go to the law library. And going to the law library is a law that it's a law that they enable them. By them, I mean the incarcerated individuals, to go to the law library whenever they need to. And if they're facing a deadline specifically, to possibly be put on special access, meaning that they could come in every day until their deadline is up. Do they follow them? Absolutely not. They used to. However, the law library officer who actually took care of the law library, he's no longer there. And the officer now is Miss Grant Jones, who actually utilizes the law library as a place where she could catch up and eat and talk to all of her girlfriends all day. She puts specific people on the call out that she wants to hang out with and fraternize with. And it's not right, because what it does is it precludes people from getting themselves out and going home. In any event, so I spoke, since I'm a paralegal, I'm very involved in advocacy and correction and whatnot. I actually authored several pleadings myself to get people home. And I spoke to a mother of a friend that I have in there, and she's freaking out because of new rules that are about to go into effect. So this is what I have written from my conversation from her. So first, I want to state that in August, we had a superintendent named Superintendent Russell. So Superintendent Russell had retired, and there is something called an earned housing unit. And in the earned housing unit, it's a great thing for Bedford, in addition to any facility, to have, because it gives you an incentive to behave. On the earned housing unit, you used to have your door open all day. As opposed to the other units, they have what they call options. So let's say it's called every option, every hour on the hour. They'll open your door at 8 o'clock, close it in 5 minutes. 9 o'clock, close it for 5 minutes. So if you have to go into your cell and get something, you have to wait until the hour. And it makes such a difference living on the honor floor, having your door open all day long, that you could just go in and go out. And the reason why they do that is they feel that the only incarcerated individuals that go up there are people without tier 2 and tier 3 tickets, which are the worst tickets you could get. Tier 1s are usually a slap on the wrist. They don't even stay on your record or anything, and there's no reason to even actually appeal the tickets. However, in any event, what happens is everybody wants to get to the on floor, of course. So the people who really act up a lot, they, in many cases, not in every case, of course, but they slow down because everyone wants to get up there for the reasons of having the doors open, as well as the fact that it's there are little things. There's a microwave up there. They have a phone system that no other unit follows. It's so quiet up there, and that's like the most amazing thing. Although there are 60 women living up there, you're not allowed to scream in the corridor, whereas the other units, I mean, never mind screaming all day long and you cannot sleep, but people set their cells on fire. I mean, the fighting is unbelievable. On the earned housing unit, none of that occurs. So in the past, people were starting to really behave because of this incentive. And there's a contract that goes with the earned housing unit, and there's like 12, I think there are like approximately 12 rules and regulations. Like, you cannot disrespect the officer. You have to be quiet at all times. Basically, like the norms of society. They were really doing a good job in preparing you for the successful reintegration of society, as far as the rules were concerned. However, when Superintendent Russell, she used to be the Deb Russell left. She stated that the honor floor, it used to be called the honor floor, the earned housing unit was not going to have, they were not going to have contracts anymore. And it was odd because, also on the earned housing unit, you get to have a television, which obviously that's such a change. That means the world to someone, because they don't have to go outside and argue with people for the TV and whatnot. So now we're told in August, I was told over the phone that they were no longer going to be accepting people and making them sign a contract, but they would be accepting them to just basically come up there ticket free, and they expected them to live by the norms of the earned housing unit. But at the same time, it was kind of like arbitrary and capricious because of the fact that, can they really be thrown off then if they break a rule because they never signed a contract? But they're just expected to. Like, it wasn't even a binding agreement, like, because a binding agreement in New York is legal. However, there was never any binding agreement there. So they started that, and then people wanted to know what was going to happen to their TVs that were there already. Oh, by the way, the people that were going to come up, they weren't allowed to have televisions. They weren't allowed to buy them anymore. So the people that were there already were told that they could have their televisions, they use the word a lot, grandfathered in, meaning if you had it before the rule changes, then you get to keep it. But the TVs break often. So they said, well, what happens when the television breaks? And they were told they could still send it out for repair. It is highly unfair to the people who came there after this change. In any event, that's how that stayed for a while. Now there's a new superintendent, and there's a new deputy superintendent of security, which is where all hell broke loose, basically. So I spoke to someone. I was told effective November 11, 2025 at the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. The new FOM 311. FOM means Facility Operations Manual. 311 was the Facility Operations Manual for all housing units. However, in the past, the earned housing unit FOM was 312. So it was odd that the earned housing unit received FOM 311, number one. Number two is, I might add that even though they were still the earned housing unit at this point. They were moved from their unit to downstairs for what they said were construction purposes. And that's the only unit that has the cable to the TV. So they cannot watch the TV. Even the people that have the TVs that were grandfathered in, so to speak, they're still downstairs, incapable of watching the TV. They thought that was the worst part, but let me continue. The new FOM 311 goes into effect, which is tomorrow, which covers housing and operations for buildings 112, 113, and 114, which I might add, 114 is the earned housing unit. The people in dorms are not subject to these changes by the new DSS Blot, his name is, which means that people which have the same charges, whether it be manslaughter or murder, are walking around freely all day long. And the changes that they will, in the ones in the uppers, in the celled units, that they will be confined to their cells all day long, unless they are going to medication, the mess hall, a program, a medical appointment, college, yard, or gym. If not, they're going to be locked in on the unit. So we used to have something called they call it indoor rec. They used to have indoor rec, and when you walked out of your cell, it was almost like, I don't know, a little, I guess, as much as they would want to make it like a social gathering, different tables with chairs, and of course a television. So I am told that they're taking all of the tables and the chairs and the television. They're doing away with all of that, and everyone is going to be locked in from now on. So what they're going to do is they're going to go around to sign up for what they want to do for. Now, they had this in the past. It's called a go-around sheet, and you could only choose one thing per module. And in the past, it was only for a half an hour. So if you wanted to take a shower, you couldn't use the phone. Right now, they have phones, thankfully, on their tablets since then. However, not everyone has tablets. There are older people who do not know how to use the tablet, and there are also people whose tablets are broken, and they literally take 9 to 12 months to repair them. You write a trouble ticket. So there are so many people who do not have tablets. So you can't say, oh, they're locked in, but they're locked in with the phone, because that's not the case. So in order to keep in touch with their family now, which, might I add, it's probably impossible in many cases, because if you think about it, they're not allowed to take showers anymore, according to this new FOM. It doesn't come out and say that, but it's implied by the way everything else is broken down, because basically it states what time the doors open, and it's right before they have to go to their program. The only ones that get to, it doesn't say they get to take a shower, but they get their doors open earlier, the mess hall workers and the laundry workers, which now means everyone's going to be fighting for jobs to work in the mess hall or for laundry, just so that they could get a shower. Now, this go around, let's say you have an open module, a free module in the morning. You have to decide whether you want to sign up for the kitchen, because some people cook, the phone, the kiosk, because you need the kiosk for your tablet if you're purchasing new material or writing a trouble ticket, or some people have to write their emails on there because their tablets aren't working. You have to choose which one you want to do, in addition to laundry, in addition to cleaning your cell. and using the phone. So, what's more important to you, speaking to your family or taking a shower? Yeah, that's why it's unconstitutional. The First Amendment protects us from speaking with the outside world, although the Eighth Amendment protects us from cruel and unusual punishment. So it is cruel and unusual to leave people with dirty laundry for weeks at a time, without showers for weeks at a time, because maybe they have children and they want to talk to their children every day. So, as I said, yes, there are 3 modules per day. Now, if someone is, there are people already talking about dropping out of school, dropping out of college, because at night will be their only time to shower. However, even if they drop out of college, there's no guarantee they'll get a shower, because the depth of security stated that from now on, there will only be 2 people permitted in the shower at one time, although there are 6 showers on that unit. Now, that is just sad because it goes against everything that incarceration stands for. Because, for example, in Penal Law 1.05, subsection 6, it states specifically, amongst other things, but the purpose of incarceration, 2 the purposes of rehabilitation and 1 successful reintegration into society. That's why we have these programs that the people go to. And for example, also going to college. Now, it has been a proven fact, and even the governor herself passed the HALT law to cease solitary confinement. However, it's being circumvented by the DSS. And that in and of itself has become unconstitutional, because it has been considered cruel and unusual punishment. There have been so many mental health disorders from people who go to SHU. There are some people who used to be in SHU. That's a special housing unit. Those are people that get tickets for a long time. And it's actually called SHU syndrome in the DSM book. That's for medical disorders. That's widely used. It's usually like within an array of legal books that you'll find it. So last year on March 7, 2024, the former Superintendent Russell advised residents that everyone would still be under the contract and continue to regulate under FOM 312. Hey, that's big, but she's gone. And I'm not going to lie. There was nothing good that was said about that woman. However, when everyone jumped for joy, including myself, when I found out that she was gone and everyone else, someone had actually said to me, but you never know who you're going to get. And my response was, there's nobody that can be worse than that woman. And guess what? There is. Gotta love docs, huh? Anything to break you down, because being away from your family isn't enough. Taking years, possibly life away from you, it's not enough. To take someone's childbearing years, and none of that is enough. We have to break them down until they are nothing. And it makes them angry when they can't break you. So whoever's watching this, if they have an incarcerated individual that they speak to, make sure that you tell them, at least as a defiant measure, to not ever let them break you. Because when they don't break you is when you win, okay? And that's why I'm having this channel as well, because I want to show you the way that they don't break you is to fight them. And when you fight them, they're not going to like it and they're going to bother you somewhat, but you learn how to fight them more and more until you bring them to court, and they'll know who you are eventually, and they'll probably stop bothering you as much. I think so. I just have a hunch. So, speaking again about former Superintendent Russell, she stated that anyone after that point would not sign a contract, as I stated, however, could not get a TV. People with TVs would be grandfathered in. Okay, so I also spoke about this. Okay, so no contract, but they were still expected the new persons to arrive to comply with FOM 312, which is completely not legal, but she wasn't very bright anyway. They are being told that their contract, this just in today. Now they're being told that their contract is null and void. Okay, understood. So the former superintendent said one thing. The new superintendent, did she say anything? No. The DSS, he's in charge of security. So it's being said that he's stating that FOM 312 is null and void. However, there was never anything in writing. Now, in order for FOM 312 to be null and void, there has to be a memo from the commissioner stating that FOM 312 is null and void. And I would like to at least see a memo stating that it has been repealed, omitted, or else it's contrary to administrative authority as it stands in the Bedford Hills community. I understand that other prisons function differently. However, this is the way Bedford functions. Now, there is what they call an honor floor. However, it's quite the honor floor. It's not a floor, it's a house. It's a mansion. It's called Fisk. I'm not kidding that it's a mansion. It's a house from the Rockefellers. I just was thinking one day, and like, there are people who have killed their children who live in there. Now there are a lot of people there for domestic violence. That I completely understand. And I'm trying to be as non-judgmental as possible, but I couldn't help but to think one day, I wonder how people would feel who's like the victim's family. How would they feel knowing that the person who killed their family, or like the father of the child that was killed by the mother, how would they feel knowing that they were living in mansions? Because the normal honor floors are just regular units that are just run the way that I kind of explained. Now, this is a beautiful mansion that has furniture in it, so they're not being touched. There are only, I believe, 23 to 24 occupants in it, and this is just really, in many ways, such a violation of the Equal Protection Clause protected by our 14th Amendment. First and foremost, the fact in and of itself that the back buildings are free to walk around every day. So they have due process. However, anyone who lives in the uppers, including the people who are so special to live in the uppers that they earn the right to, hence the term earned housing unit, are they not protected by the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? Now, there are two spectrums that are violated within the 14th Amendment. They violated the Equal Protection Clause, and they're violating definitely the due process rights of the residents of the earned housing unit. In addition to violating the First Amendment, because it was never conveyed at all that they were omitting FOM 312. And it's contrary to administrative authority. It's arbitrary and capricious. Going on. Let's see what I have on my agenda now. Okay, so the Superintendent Carrington stated at an ILC meeting, which that stands for the Inmate Liaison Committee. That was basically formed so that, air quotes, the inmate population can properly convey their concerns to administration. The only reason why they have them is because of the Attica riots, in addition to the grievance program. That's why it was really formed, because they do not take women seriously. And once again, violation of the Equal Protection Clause. However, you cannot really prove that one. That one, it's just obvious, because all that they have it for is just to say that they have it. All they do is shut everyone down. In any event, so I was looking, I just got this news this morning, so I didn't have very much time to research. Aside from the definite cruel and unusual punishment, that's another amendment that they will be violating. The Eighth Amendment protects us from the right to not have cruel and unusual punishment. Now, everyone there is already being punished. To violate someone's First Amendment right by not speaking to their family, it's unconstitutional. To violate someone's right to having a shower, it's unconstitutional. And the people that work at Bedford Hills, they're acting with deliberate indifference right now because they know people's concerns, however, are continuing to act like that anyway. It's as if they're completely attempting to circumvent the U.S. Constitution, and there is no way that any FOM created by administrative authority can supersede the U.S. Constitution. I'm sorry, there is just no way. And if they really think that they are higher than the forefathers of our country, then we could see what the federal courts say about that when a class action lawsuit is taken to the federal courts under 28 USC 1983. And I'll tell you right now, the judges are definitely going to side with the women, just like they did when the shower curtains were taken. The shower curtains and the curtains, we did not have curtains in the, what was it? Oh, on the doors. So men were allowed to just walk by. In 1977, the women got together and they did a class action lawsuit, and I'm proud of them. And they set the landmark. I think it was Forbes, if I'm not mistaken. Forbes. I don't know. I want to say Forbes. I'll get back to you on that. But that's when they were really made of something. However, I sense that if they don't change their ways, we're going to be the next ones up. And not that I'm incarcerated, I'm advocating for them. And since I am a paralegal, I am working under the guise of an attorney, which means that I can author any pleading that I wish, which is great because when I was in there working in the law library, I also authored any pleading that I wished. And I was allowed to because I worked in the law library. However, that's quite a dysfunctional issue. If you think about it, excuse me. So they're preparing us to successfully integrate into society. And for 15 years, you're trained to be a law clerk, right? And you become so good at it, you're getting everyone out. And you're just wondering when your own date comes, and you finally get yourself out. And then when you get out, the law changes. If you were to do that, and when I say do that, if you were to author pleadings, it becomes a charge. Is that not the most ridiculous thing? I mean, so when you get arrested, you can, under Johnson versus Avery, it's a landmark case, you can go ahead and be anyone's attorney you want. In Johnson versus Avery, and also in 1977, they were called writ writers. Later on called jailhouse lawyers, and they were able to act as anyone's attorney. One of those attorneys, you have to look him up. His name is Jerry Rosenberg. They called him Jerry the Jew, obviously because of his ethnic background. And I don't mean anything by saying that. Please don't take it personally, but that's just what he went by. You have to read his story. It was amazing. He did write a book. Well, not he himself, actually. The book is called Doing Life. Let me tell you who the author is. One moment. Yeah, so here it is right here. Stephen Bellow. Stephen Bellow wrote it. So I suggest everybody read this. Even if you're not interested in incarcerated individuals and whatnot in advocacy, you're going to fall in love with this guy because he became a real attorney that was actually incarcerated and going into court and representing his clients for trial. And people were going home. And then afterwards, they would recuff him and bring him back. But there was one funny story, and I'll tell you because it's not in the book. So they sentenced him to life without parole. At first, they sentenced him to the death penalty, but it was changed to life. And he had a heart attack in prison. His heart stopped. So he took it to the federal courts saying that they should release him because he was sentenced to life. They brought him back to life using a defibrillator. He didn't ask them to bring him back to life. It was a great argument. And I laughed because it was so something I would do. And 2 judges agreed if he had one more, he would have left. Unfortunately, Jerry died in prison. But I always said I wanted to honor him, and I always wanted people to know about him. So I want to keep his story alive. So please, everyone, check him out and see if you could maybe read the book. It's an amazing, amazing story. So speaking again about what they're doing in Bedford, another statute that I'm very familiar with is 7 NYCRR, that stands for New York Code Rules and Regulations. It's 1704.6. It's called Showers and Exercise. So subsection A states that an inmate shall be permitted to shower at least 3 times a week. Now, with what I just explained to you, actually, the incarcerated individual will not even be entitled to shower once per week. Now they're going to turn it around on the incarcerated individuals, stating that it's their fault that they chose to speak to their children, or it's their fault that they chose to go to college. That's sad because that's taking away the entire purpose of incarceration. So the legislature, when they wrote Penal Law 1.05, which stated that they were getting ready for the successful reintegration into society and rehabilitating, are you saying that Docs knows more than the legislature? I don't think so. So therefore, since Docs is implementing their own rules that is circumventing the legislature, there's no purpose whatsoever aside from the fact that they're torturing them. It's cruel and unusual punishment. And what is null and void is not the contract. Null and void is the fact that they're confining people under these circumstances because all of these people are at risk for future mental breakdowns. There have been people that have taken their lives in the past, especially through COVID, and that's basically what they're facing, the COVID restrictions. So there will be no successful reintegration into society, whether they take their lives or not, because the ones that don't will be a burden to society and living off of all of your money, all of the taxpayers' dollars. So they might as well just let them out because apparently they know more than the legislature. And right now they're just warehousing bodies. So really, all of that is illegal because it contradicts the law. Just like the offenses, when you read every element of the offense, and allegedly these people committed these crimes exactly the way that they allegedly committed the crimes, is the exact way that they're violating the purpose of incarceration. Therefore, since the purpose is gone, they need to let people go. With that being said, subsection B, 7 NYCRR, again, 1704.6, also states that an inmate is permitted to exercise outside of his or herself for at least 1 hour daily. On days that outdoor exercise is not available, indoor shall be provided. Now, I have a question. How are they going to provide indoor rec when they're taking all of the tables and the chairs? It's a little difficult if you ask me, right? Because I'll tell you one thing. There were many days that I've heard of that it's rained and there was bad weather. There is a gym, by the way. And every single time that there was lightning and they said that they could not be brought outside, not one person in the last 20 years has ever been afforded indoor rec, which means that now that they're implementing this, they have to go by the book. So, being that everyone is going to try to go outside at all times, if they keep trying to say, this is going to be their thing. We don't have enough staff. We don't have enough. Well, the National Guard is there now. So when they don't have enough staff, or when they claim there's lightning that there's not, they could bring them to the gym. Not could, they have to by law. This is administrative authority. Just like they're trying to claim their unwritten administrative authority is. However, it's not, because it's not in writing, and even if it was in writing, it wouldn't be signed by the commissioner. This is. So they have to comply with this now. And in addition to that, since they have to provide an alternative, they have to put phones in the gym. That means there are no phones in the gym because, by the way, they have to put showers in the gym that are working as well. And in order to not violate the Equal Protection Clause, they have to put showers outside in the recreation yard. Yeah, these are all the things they didn't think about ahead of time. And finally, for now, not finally for good, just finally for today, Section 7 NYCRR 1704.3, entitled Multiple Occupancy Unit. Subsection 4 states at least one functioning shower for every 15 inmates there must be, which alludes to the fact that what DSS Blot is doing is once again contrary to administrative authority, which is perfect for an Article 78 after people grieve this. The deliberate indifference is his mens rea. He's completely aware of this. He came from Greenhaven Correctional Facility, and he stated that he wants to run it exactly like a men's prison. Well, women get their periods, so they're only entitled 3 showers per day. So while menstruating, they have to choose whether or not maybe their 4-year-old can deal with a day without speaking to them, or are they going to have a breakdown? So now we're having an impact on the future of America because of your rules, because all of these children have parents in there. And this is the future of America. And these are the years that really matter to someone's personality and the impact that it's going to have on their future. But if you're driving their parents crazy to the point where maybe they don't hear from them ever, what do you think is going to happen to these children? What is going to happen to the future of America because of the man's rules? So Right there. Okay, so if there's at least one functioning shower for every 15 inmates, he's saying that there's only two people allowed. There's 60 inmates, which means at the very least, he has to let four people in. That's minimum standards. Even though there are six showers and there will be two empty ones, if he wanted to play that game, then at the very least, he's wrong in the fact that he has to add two more. However, this is a moot subject because when are these people showering? Really, when are they showering? I have absolutely no idea when they're showering or what's going to happen. And I'm afraid of phone calls or how this is going to play out. But I wanted to let everyone know. And I will keep you updated. I hope that maybe some prisoners' rights groups can help out. This is perfect for, as I stated, they will definitely be getting grieved. They want to exhaust their remedies because grievance is just a formality anyway. They're going to deny everything and state that it's based on security and the institutional security of the prison. Meanwhile, the prison's been running the same way for all of these years, and really nothing out of the ordinary has happened. It's just really a boilerplate statement so that he could get away with what he thinks he's going to get away with, but Jesus Christ, is he wrong? He's got the wrong one, and he's got the wrong ones. And you know what? I'm not in there. You can't do anything to me. So I would do it if I was in there anyway, but you're not going to torture people. You're just not. They're human beings. You're going to treat them like animals, and that's not happening. That's not happening on my watch. So I hope that everyone can get together and really reach out to places and just maybe help me because there's always strength in numbers, okay? So let's just look out for our women at Bedford Hills because they need us. Um, right now they feel like they have no voice, and if I didn't have a phone, I would feel like I had no voice either. If I didn't have a shower, I wouldn't feel like I was a human being. And if I was alone that much, I don't know what I would do. So let's look out for them. Let's pray for them, and let's end this because this is unconstitutional. And please, let's get this out to Governor Hochul as soon as possible. Thank you.